Hello and welcome to Maximal Fire. I'm Alex.
And I'm Johnny.
And could this be a new era for Legions Imperialis? Hello, Johnny. How you doing, mate?
Oh, I am doing very, very good. It is podcast recording night once again in the month. So what could be better? What could be better is this evening. It is not as hot as hell in these tiny little recording rooms that we do it in. It's almost borderline mild in here, and I am not having to sit in my pants while recording, which makes a change. We'll let people stew on that. Potentially a poor choice of words.
There was definitely stewing going on, put it that way, over the summer the last month or two.
And there goes 50% of the viewers. And now we're rolling. Let's go.
Start as you means to go on, right?
Yeah, that's it. It will never change. I can promise that.
It's obviously been a few weeks since our last podcast. If you haven't joined us for a while, latest episode of the New Sphere dropped a couple of weeks ago, where we talked over. It was a really good chat, actually. Really enjoyed that one. Some patrons' questions, and there was a little bit which, funnily enough, kind of rolled into the main topic of this particular episode, where we speculated quite a lot on like the units and things which might be released in the summer, and that the reveals that would come. I'm not going to say if we got them right or not, because that there is a reason for people to subscribe to the Patreon and watch the videos for themselves. So needless to say, it was a good chat. But yeah, it's been a busy June and first half of July. The weather's been hot as hell, and it has made it difficult to record because it gets so hot in these little rooms. But also it's the summer, so people go on holidays and things like that. But we had some big summer news. This weekend just gone, this Friday just gone. Loads of stuff. It was a massive preview, actually. There was quite a lot of stuff that they got through in the end, wasn't it?
Very dwarf heavy.
It did feel quite dwarf heavy. Space dwarfs. So the Sporfs got some new models. The Chorfs got some new models.
Well, yeah, for a very long time.
Yeah, and then there was new kill team stuff as well. What else did I miss? Oh, there was more kind of. Again, noticing a lot of kind of negative sentiment about the things which were teased for Horus Heresy being no big surprise, but I guess it's still new content. Loads of Space Marines. Like, it's interesting that they were bringing out the different spearhead boxes, wasn't it, for a new a reimagining of the, I'm forgetting his name now, the Salamander character, Vulcan. Vulcan something or other.
The green dudes.
Not the Vulcan. They're all green dudes.
Hestan.
Iron Warrior stuff.
Raven Guard.
Lysander, I think, as well. There was a new Lysander model. But but we don't care about any of that, because the only thing that we're actually interested in is, we're getting some love again. It's been a while, hasn't it, since the last proper news for Legions Imperialis. The last release was in March, I think it was, with the release of the Krios and the Karaknos. And before that, it would have been when did Spiderbots come out? That was end of November, beginning of December. 2024.
December, right? Like quite late into
And so the last book, of course, being
Rise of the Dark Mechanicum.
Rise of the Dark Mechanicum, and that's 9 months ago. So it has been a little bit quiet on the Legions Imperialis front. Not as kind of tomb quiet as it is on Adeptus Titanicus these days.
It's still alive, Alex.
It's still alive. It's like just wishing it to keep alive just a little bit longer. We're desperately here, giving it mouth to mouth and CPR, trying to keep it alive. But no. Who knows? Maybe one day, Popper Games Workshop will give us a new weapon or something that we can kind of latch onto. But no, Imperialis got quite a lot of new stuff, and there's quite a lot to chew through. So we thought we would have a talk about that release and kind of like what we kind of hope for the future of the game as well, because I think we're seeing a lot of stuff which is giving us. We did an episode, didn't we? What was it? 6 months of Legions Imperialis, and I think looking back on that, nearly a year later, it was probably a little bit doom and gloom at the time because the game wasn't in a great place, and there's been a significant amount of change since then. And without giving too much away, I think that this next release is going to be a real positive for the game.
Yeah,
Before we go into that,
you didn't have to be much of an empath to guess our feelings about it after 6 months. Especially me, I was like, "Oh my god, how am I gonna play this game?"
Yeah, but the thing is like we said this at the time, wasn't it? Like it took years for Adeptus Titanicus to get to where it is today. Like the game when it was released was not a good game. It was just blast weapons on blast weapons. There wasn't the versatility that there is now. So it's kind of understandable. It takes these things a little bit of time, but there is a point, I think, where you go, you know what? Now's a good time to jump in because now there's options. The rules are matured a little bit and the barrier to entry is lowered. And I think as we continue with this episode, you will come to agree that the time is potentially nigh for that. But before we go on, just want to say thank you to our latest patrons since who have joined us since last time. So a big thanks to Tim Rice, Chris Montgomery, Mark Mallard, John Daly, Ricardo Longo, Benjamin Chorner, Cannon Briggs, Jesse Butler, and new YouTube members as well. So if you prefer to use YouTube instead of Patreon, you can access our New Sphere videos through YouTube members. So thank you to Mouse GMR, Clavian, James Hatfield, and Russell Lewis. I had to give that last name, the name before last, a double check because there was like a fraction of a second I thought James Hetfield had subscribed to our channel and got super excited by that. Not that I'm not super.
I was going to say, like now James Hatfield, feels sad.
No, I love all of our
James,
subscribers, members, patrons. But if it had been James Hetfield, yeah, I would have been pretty made up about the fact that somebody from Metallica is a massive geek like the rest of us. But yeah, anyway, big thank you to you guys. If you do want to support the channel, you can join us on Patreon. You get we have 3 different tiers, starting at $1.50, going all the way up to £6, and you can get a load of different perks for subscribing, including the New Sphere episodes if you subscribe at the Princeps or the Princeps Senioris levels, and discounts off of Battle Builder, Battle Bling, and a new perk that we've added for our Princeps Senioris because we want to continue to make them feel super special is we are officially giving them a 10% discount on any events that we run, with the exception, unfortunately, of Beachhead because we don't handle the ticketing for that. And also advance notice of any new events that we run and tickets, access new tickets that they can get hold of. So if you do want to support the channel, please do hop into Patreon and consider supporting us for what is less than the price of a pint in Bournemouth. So pretty affordable compared to other channels. We try and keep it as cheap as possible. But thank you very much to everybody. Back on to the content then. So we're gonna break all this down right into different sections, but in like one sentence, Johnny, what's coming our way?
Tanks,
and more tanks.
Tanks. Tanks. Objective markers.
Yeah.
Tokens. Cards. And maybe a small book as well.
Small book. A not so small 240-page book.
Hell
so,
yeah.
yes. It was an interesting reveal. In hindsight, I was a little bit surprised by the choices that they chose to release. But in other respects, thinking about what they've released for Horus Heresy up until now, a lot of it did actually make sense. But yeah, so we have a new book coming, the Liber Strategia. We have a consolidated set of cards for each of the factions. So there's going to be, I think, 3 new card packs, one for Solar, one from Mechanicum, which I assume includes Dark Mechanicum, and one for Legions Astartes. There is a token set with objectives and orders. And then we have Whirlwinds, Scorpius tanks, Vindicator siege tanks, Cerberus heavy tank destroyers, Typhon heavy siege tanks destroyers, and everybody's favourite from Horus Heresy, the Mastadon. So yeah, tanks, and tanks. But let's start with the new book, shall we? I think that this is the thing which, like, although tanks are cool, right? I think this is the thing which has got us most excited.
Yeah, it was very easy, I think, to look over it at first, and then you dial it back, and you're like, wait a minute, this is actually a really good sign for the game. I am very excited just to have essentially what it represents, which is a consolidated place that all of the different books that have released over the life cycle of Legions so far are including their rules into, and I'm assuming, I would hope, the FAQ changes that have come through for any of the units that are going to be printed in there will also be in there as well. So extremely excited. Yes,
it's, although I must add, if I had my negative Nelly hat on, I'd be like, I've only just bought the, in the last year and a half, I've bought 3 supplements, and now you're replacing it with one book. I do find that a little bit frustrating, but at the same time, I completely get why they've chosen to do it. The scuttlebutt on this is that they were due to have like a republishing. The books needed republishing again so that they could continue to provide them for the new players. So instead they were like, well, let's just stick it all in one book and take the opportunity to actually, now that we're 18 months in, do a little bit of a look at the units and change a few things, maybe rebalance things. And if you played 40k, then you're used to every week your points changing. Although be it, they do provide those mostly for free if you have the app, I believe.
Yeah, they post it on Warhammer community as well.
Yeah, so I think that although nobody likes paying for stuff twice, I think this is the best way of doing it. We saw it in Adeptus Titanicus as well, with the Loyalist Legio books, which ultimately replaced a ton of stuff, the Traitor books and the Campaign Compendium, albeit it was a number of years on before those kind of came out. Well, probably only actually 2.5 for Traitor Legios, I guess. So slightly later, but not by much.
Yeah, I'd much rather have what's happening now that might feel a little bit too early of a release than what happened with AT, where people were scrabbling over some of those campaign books because it had rules for their Titan Legio or rules that they were going to be using in the game. So and let's be real, it's annoying. I think you've got to realise that a big part of playing GW games, unfortunately, is spending equally as much on books. My breath caught when I saw how many books the new Horus Heresy players are going to have to buy just to start out the new edition. Granted, not everyone has every single army, but still, it did make me laugh quite a bit. And as he's grabbing there are a ton.
Put this into perspective, right? If you're a new player, then there's 4 books, and none of them are particularly small. Like there's a lot there to pick up, and on top of that, I also have he puts that to one side so it doesn't fall over. Multiple packs of cards as well, which, yeah, I mean, to be honest, they're going in the bin now, right? Like, there's really no use for those. And probably my books as well. So if you're thinking about selling out, now is the time to sell your books just to see if you can try and get some money for them. But, like, that's a lot of stuff if you're a new player. Like, especially like if you're kind of looking at the range and you think, oh, you know what, I'm going to play as Solar Auxilia. Mm-hmm. That box of Shadow Swords, that looks cool. I'll grab a box of those. Okay, and those. Let me try and think of another example. Valdors look good. I'll take those. Oh, and at the same time, I want some infantry. Well, okay, now you've got to buy 3 cards. Mm-hmm. Packs. If you want to use the cards, you can obviously use them from the rule books, but even if you use them from the rule books, that's also 3 books you need to buy. So you've 3 boxes
on top of that, and then you could go, oh, actually, I want some Bonded Cybernetica as well to join my, and then
which suddenly gets buy the Mechanicum one as well, so you've got the cards for that.
Right.
Yes, it's annoying buying stuff, and I've kind of jumped the gun here a little bit because one of the other bits, as well as the new book, is a set of new cards, right? Mm-hmm. But it means if you're a new player, you have to buy 3 things to get into the game. That's the rule book, the Liber Strategia, and your cards of choice if you want to use the cards. And to be honest, why wouldn't you? I much prefer using the cards than constantly flicking backwards and forwards between like pages of the rule book. So, I think that is a very positive move by GW. The fact that they're also going back in at this point in time and actually looking at the rules and the points, I think is a positive thing. Obviously, we haven't seen what those points mean. Really, we've had a snippet, like a shop window look at Terminators. Mm-hmm. And it appears that although Terminators for the detachment is staying the same, they have increased the upgrade costs. So for 2 additional used to be, I think it was 15 is now 20, and 4 more used to be 30 points extra. It's now 40. So that means that 8 Terminators used to cost you 80 points, are now going to cost you 90 points. So it's like a tiny, tiny adjustment. But I mean, I'm interested to know what they do with everything else, because I think certainly Terminators never felt like something which needed to be rebalanced. I never felt like they were particularly overcosted.
I have never once gone up against Terminators and thought they were anything more than slightly more annoying Space Marines.
Yeah.
That can teleport.
Yeah, exactly that, right? So what that means for everything else, they had very cleverly hidden the bottom of the cards on the screenshot that they provided as well. So does that mean that some of the traits are changing as well for each of the units? Because you couldn't see that on what they'd revealed. But maybe they will take the opportunity to change stat lines, to change unit abilities, to change points. Maybe even tweak formations at this point. They may even kind of add or remove slots to existing formations within the army list. So I think certainly as a TO running events, for me, it's very reassuring to be able to go, you know what, I'm going to pick up my rule book, I'm going to pick up my 1 Liber Strategia book, and then now I've got everything that I need to walk around the entire event and answer any questions on anybody's army without having to find the book that they're in.
Consult the library of tomes.
Precisely right. Yeah. So,
and they've hinted at new stuff being in this book. So the chances that they're, as much as we're kind of coping maybe, that there will be some unit profile changes and formation changes is entirely in the realm of possibility. I think it is, and again, not trying to give away too much of the new sphere last episode, but I think it is the perfect time to be looking at just giving the rules a bit of a refresh. They've got a bit of time now, over a year now, right, of Legions.
Like 18 months plus.
18 months, yeah. Of gameplay, of people having providing feedback, events running, including their own events, that they can really sit down and go, okay, this feels a bit unbalanced, this feels a bit squiffy, this interaction doesn't quite happen the way we thought it would, because, there's only so much playtesting you can do, especially as a specialist game in GWHQ, that it's not going to be perfect first time. Hell, their mainline games aren't perfect first time. So
absolutely not. No. And what is it the army says, that the best laid plans don't survive first contact
with the enemy, exactly. Or some overzealous dude with a rule book and a very interesting take on wordings.
It's exactly like that, right? And I think that the single best thing that GW have done is although they don't do loads of them, they've continued to support events where they've probably seen how things are played and taken a look at those and gone, oh, I didn't expect Steve to have taken that particular list, or I didn't expect you to take an entire list full of Aethon Sentinels, or the things that people just assume, like, nobody's going to do that because it's going to be ludicrously expensive. It's like, well, there is always going to be somebody.
Who's someone with a 3D printer who wants to one up the opponents. Yeah,
but it's been great, right, seeing that they've actually recognized some of those things, and we saw that in the FAQ that we touched on a few episodes back, right? The no turn one charging with infiltrate, very, very toxic to play against, very frustrating. I wonder if this Liber Strategia book, so this is to use their wording, let me see if I can find the wording. It collates, updates, and supersedes the previous army lists for all factions. So it's that kind of collating and updating makes me wonder, well, what exactly are they going to do? And maybe there is an option here that they might have a look at things like, that could be like, the thing is, I need to be careful about saying what I want Games Workshop to do with this game, because it almost feels like they do the opposite every time I make some wild speculation. I don't know if anybody's listening to this and going, right, okay, well, just do the other thing.
I've got a big list and they go, oh, damn it. Right, back to the drawing board.
But like this, so for example, everybody knows Alpha Legion and World Eaters are still probably the A tier of the S tier of S tiers. In particular, the way that CAF works, that World Eaters ability is just horrible and not enjoyable to play against at all. I wonder if they will actually take a look at those Legio rules and either scrap them altogether, or hopefully go back and tweak a few things. Give Space Wolves some love, right? Give them something else. Find a way to tone down things like the World Eaters. I'm not convinced that the Alpha Legion probably are as bad as they used to be anymore now that they've done that no turn one charges thing. But it's still pretty, having that much outflank and that much infiltrate is still pretty nasty.
I say, don't tone anything down. Just bring everything else up to that batshit level of, killy ridiculousness, so that stuff still does feel distinct. You're not bringing stuff down to be like vanilla Marines with a +1 modifier to something, like some of the Legio.
Well, the obvious one, and I was talking about this on Discord, and like, give Space Wolves Furious Assault.
Furious Charge, yeah.
So Furious Charge. It would be fine to have something like that on Space Wolves. It would mean that the Nordic axe wielding berserkers go from being just guys who are good at sniffing good to being a bit more like they probably should be. We've said this in the past, haven't we? Like, it's like, oh yeah, but hopefully the formations of legend will sort this all out. Now, how long have we been saying that for? So I think since the first one came out, right? And formations of legend came out in Devastation of Talon. So there's been 2 books with Formations of Legend in, and there wasn't really any new ones in Dark Mechanicum other than for Titan Legions for Dark Mechanicum or Mechanicum. So do we hold on hope for that anymore? Or do we think that this new 240 page book may actually fill some of those gaps which haven't been there before? Because it does say that they're going to include some Formations of Legend, right? It's already mentioned the Hunter Killer Clade or whatever it's called, the one I have for the Iron Hands. But then it also goes on to mention a Chthonian Headhunters formation, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's new.
That's new.
So it does hint that there's going to be some new ones.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, in an ideal world, if you're thinking, and also if you're thinking from kind of Games Workshop's shoes here, they're not going to want to have to reprint another big book for a while. They're probably not going to want to be putting a load of energy into doing, frequent releases for like sub books like we've been getting so far. Especially if again, we're a specialist game. It's not exactly going to be a mainline seller. There's loads of stuff going on with normal heresy at the moment. Loads of stuff going on with 40k and AOS at the moment. If they wanted to kind of cross, dot all I's, cross all T's with this, I would hope to see like a specific formation for each faction and sub-faction, i.e. the different legions. That would feel, I think, a lot more complete as a rule system than currently what we've got.
Bearing in mind what they've released up until now, do you think that is realistic, or is that just like fanciful wishing for?
So they've been very vague, but we've only had, this is the first we've heard of this, right? This 1.5 potentially book. And they've already mentioned that there's going to be new stuff in it, but they haven't actually focused on that. So whether they've left that in as a little, there is going to be new stuff in there. And please shut us down in the comments if this Chthonian Headhunter cohort for the Solar Ox does exist. We're pretty sure it doesn't. So, whether they surprise us with it or we might see in a couple of days from now or tomorrow, knowing
you
our
watch
luck.
on Thursday.
Yeah,
literally. I mean, it's
we're going to get a Warhammer community update tomorrow to say.
Monday today. Thursday we'll have more detail and we'll just, as always, negate everything that we're saying. Yeah. But, they have had 8 months of silence.
I hope they've been doing something with it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously rebalancing a game takes some effort, right? But you would hope that would have been done in conjunction with the FAQ that was released.
Right.
So you would hope that in 8 months they've had time to kind of put together some new formations. So as much as I feel like it's asking for too much to have one for every one, is it unrealistic?
I don't think so.
Probably not.
I feel like we could sit down here for a 2 hour long podcast special and go, let's think up some formations for legions and have them not be completely broken by the end of those 2 hours. Like, it's not as kind of as flippant as it sounds to say, it is not hard to design something like that. You just need to make it unique and you need to test it. So I would hope that they've put in some effort to doing that. But who knows?
So are we going to have a good old fashioned book burning of our kind of old Legions Imperialis books in advance for these to come out?
We don't burn books in this house. It's sacrilege.
Yeah, I don't smoke either, so it's not like I can even
you can roll it up,
roll up the cards to use as filters or anything
all that printer ink, just lovely.
But that's the one thing that annoys me when they do these things, because now I've just got I am religious when it comes to books. I've always thought that like a book is something special. Like, I hate damaging books or ripping pages out of books or throwing books away.
Same.
But what the hell am I supposed to do with these books and cards, which ultimately are going to become null and void? Granted, you could go through all of your cards and with the Tipex and make all of the updates yourself. I'm not that guy.
Theoretically, we could be completely wrong, and it literally might just be like a consolidation of all the rules exactly as they are printed, bar the FAQ, which is very limited on the actual units and mostly just the universal generic rules. And it's just a repackage, and as they put in their first thing, collation of everything that we have so far. And
do you mean like when they announced we're going to redo the Traitor Stratagem cards for AT and the Defensive Riser? Yeah, we're going to redo them, but by the way, we're not changing any of the things that we later changed in the subsequent books or in the FAQs. We're going to give you them as they were at the time, and by the way, they're all out of date now.
I'm pretty sure they found like a buried deposit in the desert of leftover cards. And they were like, let's resell them.
I think we need to kind of raid that
cache.
That cache for to see if they've got any match play guides while they're at it.
If any of the commenters have a match play guide, I have misplaced mine and I do not know where it is.
Oh, don't worry, Johnny. I'm one of those people who bought 2 of them.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
You're a savior. You're a savior.
I'm my excuse for having 2 of them is because I'm a tournament organizer, right? If I lose my 1 copy, then big trouble. So I've always bought 2. So don't worry, I can sort you out there, bruv.
Wicked. All right.
As long as I can find the spare one where I put it.
They always go out, don't they? But yeah, back to books. I was going to say I went into my nerd room recently. And I looked over. I've got a little book cabinet full of like mostly like D&D and other TTRPG books. So I have a shelf. I say shelf, a shelf and a pile next to the cabinet dedicated to codexes. And it actually made me die a little inside when I like calculated how much all those books have costed, and then like actually how much use I got out of them. So I've got like a good majority of the 40k codexes there, or like the AOS battle tomes. I may have played 1 or 2 games with. I was just like, so now I've got a thing of, I'm not going to spend another penny on a battle tome or codex or whatever until I know I'm going to be playing a game like the weekend before and I actually need it. Because they're just expensive doorstops at this point. Like there's loads of them, they weigh a ton. I don't have the heart to throw them away or burn them or.
Well, they're definitely updated quicker than they used to be as well. Like back in the day. You used to get probably a good 2 or 3 years use out of most codexes. And even if the edition changed, the rules never changed, significantly enough. And often, like, you would still be kind of like using your old codex in a new edition. But, I dug out and found, because there's some guys locally are playing a 2nd edition Warhammer 40,000 event. Is that a group that you're not part of, Johnny, that you need to
I'm not in that one. It's the one WhatsApp chat I'm obviously not in.
Oh, don't worry, I'll invite you to it. So I went digging out all of my old 2nd edition. I still got like my Codex Imperialis, my War Gear book, my rule book from 2nd edition, which I've just carried around with me since 1995. It's just been in a box, which I've never thrown away, and it's just been carried from one house to the other. And I've lived in 11 houses in Bournemouth, and I come from Nottingham, so I brought them down from Nottingham, and then have moved them around 11 houses that I've lived here in the past 20 odd years. So, yeah, and then I found my old Angels of Death codex as well. So, like now, I'm thinking, well, brilliant. I can. I've got it. I've got all of that stuff. But is there going to be? Would you ever see a time when like 6th edition 40k has that nostalgia pull that something like 2nd edition has?
See, every time you're saying an edition, I'm googling the relevant Tyrannid Codex, because that will be the one that I'm most familiar with. No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe, right? I'm guessing it is like the people's formative years playing said editions,
possibly.
Because the 6th edition Tyrannid Codex does not give me the same nostalgic ache as I think it's the 3rd edition one, that really like dark, like evil color scheme on the front. But
I know what you mean.
Like, right in nostalgia. So I think it's definitely nostalgic based, and I cannot picture myself. Now it's going to sound sad. I cannot picture myself at the moment feeling nostalgic about the current LI rules. So I hope this 1.5 is like
we're calling
such
it
a game changer.
1.5, right? But like, it's not really a 1.5, but it might as well be. Like, I think we looked at the old world's FAQ and was like, Jesus, they changed a lot. Like they could do some significant changes. And well, the FAQ that they released for LI was, it was a good FAQ. They addressed a lot that was in there. Most issue points were addressed. But sadly, Johnny, I don't think that they're going to address CAF in any way. And I know a lot of people have that nostalgic Space Marine 2 pull on CAF, but we've not made it particularly secret that we're not a fan of the CAF system. It's like we tolerate it, like the weird uncle who shows up at weddings and stuff. But I still feel like there's got to be a better way of doing combat. It just feels so arbitrary at the moment, especially when you've got things like World Eaters as well, who just break the system and just completely kind of run the odds.
It sounds silly to say that it feels like just rolling dice against each other without any like real feel behind it. It's just like, oh, you rolled a 6 and I rolled a 4, you win. But it's genuinely, because all the games we play are dice games, right? But it genuinely does just feel like we could just swipe these models off the table and you just roll a d6 and I just roll a d6 and we're going to see who wins. And then that will dictate, that combat or whatever. Because it is very much, instead of, positioning actually matters. It's more of a line up your models so they're all fighting one by one and we'll see who comes out of it. Just doesn't do it for me. I don't know. I've grown on it a little bit.
Of course you have. You've got +6 CAF on some of your butchers and stuff like that.
The Arax butchers may be a reason why I've grown on it, because I benefit from it. But in all seriousness, though, it could just do with just something. It needs an injection of life or something into that system to make it feel just a little bit more.
But yeah, I don't think that they'll be doing anything about that until we are seriously thinking about a future new edition. I don't think that's going to happen for a while yet, right? And the new FAQ rules are still kind of bedding in, but I do think that it will be interesting to see. And to your point before we went on the massive tangent about, are they just consolidating all of the cards together? Well, we know that some points have changed. So we know that at the very least, like, some of those points have changed. And I would expect that to be kind of fairly sweeping across some of them. But what the question is like, what is truly OP at the moment? What that you would consider needs to be cheaper? And I'm sat here sort of scratching my head on that, because I feel like maybe the tanks need to be generally more expensive and infantry needs to be cheaper, because like there's very much a push in the game towards armored formations at the moment. And this is reinforced as well by the fact that, once again, it's tanks. Like did we need, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Did we say 5 new tank platforms for Legions Imperialis? Did we need yet another armored transport option for Space Marines when we've already got the Thunderhawk, we've got the Storm Raven, we've got the Spartan, we have Rhinos, and we have Land Raiders?
Let's be real. It is very much a Space Marine game. I think outside of many of the other systems, it is very Space Marine dominated in terms of armies. You see a lot of different legions at the events, not many Solar Rocks or or others, Mechanicum. So I think I can understand the weighting towards releasing Space Marines. I think on the point of what could do with a points reduction, I think some tanks could do with a points reduction, and that is the Solar Ox tanks, because they are very similarly costed to the Space Marines one, and almost universally much shitter. Like they just.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. Like the solar tanks tend to be slower, but their armor is usually better, and they usually have range. Like most of their stuff is longer ranged, which is a big advantage. You compare like a Sikaran with the accelerator autocannons. I think that's like a 16-inch range, and you compare that to a Vindicator. Which,
yeah, but you're comparing two very different kind of purposes here, really, aren't you? An autocannon versus a tank hunter, right? With the Vindicator.
Well, I mean, fair enough, but you compare it like for like, right? Vindicator compared, I think that, the only equivalent really for Space Marines at the moment is the Kratos it's not super heavy, sorry, Kratos heavy tank, which is a lot more, and you only get limited amounts of them, whereas you can take a lot of Vindicator Leman Russ for a lot less points than for Vindicators. Whether or not, and we're kind of jumping ahead here, but the introduction of like the Cerberus, for instance, does give some more options. But the point, before we go into the actual new units, the thing which most surprised me, you said, yes, it is absolutely a Space Marine game. Where are the Space Marines at?
Yeah,
we have the tanks, but where's the Space Marines? Like, and this is probably a little bit of bias for me as a Imperial Fist enjoyer, because my rules focus on first fire orders on units with certain weapon types, of which heavy bolters are named. Infantry with heavy bolters, infantry with las cannons, infantry with plasma cannons. Like, where's all them at? Like, where are the other options for like the equivalent of Devastator detachments? Like, there's none of that. There's no breaches. And we've talked about this in the past. Like, I think that what the game didn't need, although I'm excited about a few of them, the game didn't need more tanks. It needed more infantry options across the board, I think, with the exception of maybe Mechanicum, because they have quite a lot of infantry and walker options available to them, which do very different things. But certainly from a Solar Ox perspective, I don't know what you would add for Solar Ox, because they've basically done most of the range which is out at the moment, bar maybe those little kind of Scout Walker Sentinel ones, the really small kind of, almost the ones that look like the ATRTs from
ATSTs? ATRT? Yeah.
The ones which are a dude on the back of, looks like he's on a motorcycle, but it's actually legs. They released those for Solar. We don't have those yet, but things like breaches, things like different models, and maybe we will see this now that we've seen the new Horus Heresy Mark II stuff that's come out. Maybe that's the platform that will give us breaches, will give us, and maybe we haven't seen everything, because this was only the preview. And like you say, if they're going to future-proof the book, are they only going to release the models that they've teased, or are we going to see? We've got our first ever super heavy tank for Legions and Astartes. Does that mean we're going to see other super heavy tanks for Legions and Astartes, like the Glaive and the Falchion? Does that mean we will see some new core or garrison troops in the forms of breaches? I hope so. I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see if anything more is kind of teased on Warhammer Community. But I would also hope that they do look at the other two factions and plan for some expansion for them as well. Like, are we going to go full Ordonatus with the Dark Mechanicum? What else can they bring in for? I'm really struggling to think of any other tanks which are missing now for Solar Auxilia. Or are they basically now done?
Yeah. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
The formations of legend become the new way of kind of upgrading Solar Rocks.
I think that's a very good point, is that, we're nearing kind of the point now where everything that exists for a lot of the factions is pretty much reproduced in epic scale. It begs the question: what happens when they run out of the 28 mil equivalents? The only kind of exception to that is the Aphon, which were we know it as a Legions Imperialis first, and then it released in Horus Heresy. But to be honest, that release came so quickly after Legions that there's a very good chance it probably wasn't originally a 28 mil release that then they switched to the game. It made me laugh when I was watching the preview show when you were talking about there being more Marines in Legions. They were rushing quite a bit in the States preview. I don't know if people noticed. And so they did their entire section about Legions Imperialis, and they went so immediately quickly onto just normal Horus Heresy, and they showed the only release for that, which was the Mark II jump pack Marines. I was like, what the hell? They've released new Marines for Legions Imperialis. Holy shit, these are detailed as hell. Oh man, this is gonna be awesome. And I was like, wait a minute, no, these are way too detailed. They were just 30k releases bolted onto Legions. My light has run out as well.
Well, it's definitely. I mean, let's plan for the worst, hope for the best, right? I really do hope that they will look to include more infantry options, because it does feel like the game has moved away from infantry, especially since the the FAQ and nerfing their speed, which I do think was a good thing. But I just, infantry is annoying to paint, right? But like that's half it's a combined arms game. It's supposed to be, right? Like there's things that they can do with infantry, and they need to do with infantry to make it feel more like a combined arms game, and more variation. It's more specialists, more infantry specialists for Marines. Now, we've already talked Primarchs, right? Are we ever going to see that? Don't know. But there needs to be some expansion in the infantry side of the game, I think, in general. If you can think of something for Solar Auxilia, put it in the comments. But we're really coming up short with what is really missing. The one thing that I think is missing from this game, and I'm going to reset the clock: Imperator Titan.
Of all the things we've discussed today, this is the furthest idea of what it could, what could possibly be coming, which probably means it's going to be announced next week.
Look, right? I mean, they've definitely made Titans more competitive, more able to actually take them for a start. But like with some of the support formations as well, it gives you like an option to actually field a competitive list for having a Titan Legion with a few infantry scattered in here and there. So let's everyone wants an Imperator, right? Just give us an Imperator. GW, we've seen the model. You've got the model made already because it was in Space Marine 2, so you know what it looks like. Just give the people what they want.
Who are the devs of Space Marine 2?
Is it Focus Entertainment?
Something like that. So someone in Focus is going to leak the thing, being like, "Oh yeah, they sent us actually the 3D render of the."
That's the pipe dream, right?
Oh, can you imagine?
You just know that they will release it, but it'll be too big to use an AT, and so it won't have any AT rules.
I mean,
and then everyone will cry.
The bloody War Master barely has AT rules. You can take it, sure. But no one would ever want to in a normal game.
No. Oh, I did forget the Plastic Knights as well when I said about the new stuff earlier on in the year. Don't know if that. I just forget about knights in general because the knights don't really care about knights.
Yeah.
They're not titans. But anyway, we've negged on tanks, but tanks is what we're getting. So like I say, we're getting Mastadon, Whirlwind, Scorpius, Vindicators, Cerberus, Typhon tanks.
I know that the Whirlwind and Scorpius is definitely one that people have been clamoring for a little while. Just to have, some form of long range artillery.
Exactly. It is. It's an artillery slot, and the artillery slot is completely absent for Space Marines. Just like, incidentally, the light armor slot is missing for Solar Auxilia. So maybe I wonder if we'll see some kind of light armor for.
Is there a light armor Solar Ox vehicle?
The only ones I could think of, I mean, Chimeras weren't around at this point, were they? Which means that Salamanders wouldn't have been around at this point.
I'm pretty sure
they were at the War of the Beast, but I don't think that Chimeras. It was all Dracosans and that kind of stuff for the Solar Auxilia. Back at this particular point, that Lehman Russ was relatively new.
Did they not have like a flamer version of the Dracosan or something like that?
You mean the Hellhound?
Yeah, but like the early prototype of the Hellhound.
I'm not sure.
I feel like they have one in 28mm scale.
But if it doesn't exist, then that is something which they could bring in. If it does exist, stick it in the comments and tell us what we're missing. But yeah, back to the Whirlwinds and Scorpius.
Yeah.
Artillery slots, which we were absolutely missing. And from the description, the Whirlwind is going to be an anti-infantry saturation fire platform, which is good against garrisons. And the Scorpius is going to be the anti-tank, anti-armor option, and there's going to be 8 of those in a box, and you get 4 of each. So if you want 8 of each, you're buying 2 boxes. The anti-garrison, like the Whirlwind, sounds interesting because clearing stuff out of garrisons is hard, and up until now, really, it's only missile launchers which have done that job particularly well for Marines. I would assume these would be longer than the 20 odd inches for missile launches, so
I'd hope so.
I hope so. There's a special rule, isn't there, for saturation or something similar to that rule, which I wonder if they will incorporate
specifically
into the
do
Whirlwind. Well, there was I wonder if they'll give it like either the barrage rule. I would hope they would give it the barrage rule to let you fire indirectly. But what was it? It wasn't the barrage that I'm thinking of. There is a special rule, unless I'm completely thinking of something completely different. Ripple fire. A model firing with ripple fire can re-roll hits of 1 for that weapon if it's issued with a first fire order. So I wonder if they'll give it something like that.
That would be cool.
I think it'd be quite fitting for that kind of platform as well.
You know, it makes me laugh about Legions is that you've read that rule that I've not heard, even though playing the game for quite a while now, and I cannot think of like one model it's on. And
I think there is like one unit that has it.
It drives me nuts. There's just like so many rules, and like half of them affect like 2 units in total.
Is it the Arcus? It might be the Arcus. Not the Arcus. Is it the Arcus? The new in this book, the Sicaran. Is that the Arcus? Or am I getting confused with Maniples?
Oh no, that isn't also a Maniple, but whether it's the same thing.
It is the Arcus.
Okay.
And it does have ripple fire. So that's the one unit that has ripple fire that I can think of off the top of my head. But you could give it something like that, right? I think that would be very fitting for like that saturation Whirlwind. What's that probably going to be? 4+ to hit? I would have thought maybe light AT -1, -2, ignores cover, something like that. And then the Scorpius anti-tank, do we think that's just going to be like a long-ranged crack missile equivalent?
Yeah, it'll fire a couple of shots. Wait, no, does Scorpius have more than one? It does, doesn't it? It has more than one missile loaded at once, right?
It's got 2 pods.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe a 2-dice crack missile at a longer range. I think that'll be quite good, and they'll be, of course, they will be Rhino chassis, so they won't be stupidly expensive. But it will mean they'll probably be 4-up armor, right? So they'll die to a stiff breeze. But I do think that is a much needed couple of tanks for the Space Marines, because it's the main one that was missing. But yeah, moving on to keeping with the Rhino chassis, though, they've also got Vindicators. So Vindicators are 8 per box, and I wonder how these are going to play. Right, I can't see these being stupidly fast. No. So I'm thinking like they're probably going to be Rhino, maybe even slightly slower than Rhinos.
They're going to be slower than Rhinos. I think like editions of old, the Dozer Blade is going to have something to do with clearing, like being able to move through difficult terrain with ease, potentially. The thing that bugs me about the Vindicator is that it's a siege tank, right? And there's not rules on like sieging a wall or a fortress. So are they just going to be tanks that are good at destroying buildings and therefore not going to be taken?
I'm going to assume that these are basically going to be very similar to, is it the Medusas, the Solar Auxilia, or just the Lehman Russ Demolishers, for obvious reason, right? So we're talking short range. What's that, like 12 inches?
Yeah, really short range. Yeah.
So as much as I love the Vindicator as an idea, I'm struggling to find the application for that. And again, all of this is in a vacuum. It's, new formations may make the most of these, or like may change it slightly, but maybe we'll see like an Iron Warriors contingent which has a lot of Vindicators, which is good for siege breaking, has some special rules or something, who knows. But I mean, they don't have a huge amount of anti-building options, the Space Marines, do they? When you think about it, they have the big melter on the Kratos, which is Bunker Buster Wrecker. But other than that, they don't have a huge degree of bunker busting Wrecker weapons currently, if I recall correctly, unless you're bringing in a Reaver Titan with a conversion beamer.
Yeah.
So it gives you an option, right? And people love their garrisons. So you've got the Whirlwinds that can take people out of the garrisons, and you've got Vindicators that can just remove the obstacle in entirety.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Is, how much more value you're going to get out of something that can fire from the back of the field during the turns that the Vindicator slowly trundles up to the front of the battle line, Yeah,
or it just becomes yet another one of those units which you just have to Leroy on a march up and hope that it gets close to its intended target before somebody blows it up. And again, these are going to be and probably another 4-up armor save, because they're a Rhino chassis. It's not going to be I doubt it'll be as armored as Predator.
Maybe are Vindicators Rhino chassis?
Yeah,
I thought they were a bit beefier than that.
You're thinking of the Typhon, which we'll get into in a minute.
Okay. Yeah, the thing that, I guess the obvious issue is that you flood the game with so many tanks. At some point, you're going to be skipping over some tanks because others are just going to be objectively better, right? And I worry that the Vindicator is going to be in that position where it's going to be like, okay, well, you can use it to destroy buildings, but why wouldn't you just use the Typhon? Okay. It's also got a big gun, good at destroying infantry. Well, why not use the XYZ tank that, the Space Marines have as well? Yeah.
It feels like if they're going to put the Scorpius and the Whirlwind together and only give you 4 of each, it feels like they should have bundled this with something else and given you 4 Vindicators and 4 something else's.
Although, to be honest, I'd be quite happy not, if I was collecting Space Marine Armoured Force, I wouldn't want to be, if Vindicators aren't great, I wouldn't want to be kind of spending money on getting them extra if I could just get the ranged options.
Yeah, I at most I usually take between 6 to 7 Predators, and they do a lot of work. Unless Vindicators are stupidly cheap. But moving on anyway to the Cerberus heavy tank destroyer. This feels like the only other release that they've got here, which feels like it has a good spot in most forces to take. So the Cerberus heavy tank destroyer squadron is it the neutron laser battery? Is that what it's got? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's similar to the Valdor, although the Valdor just has the 1. This has got the 3. So I would assume it maybe not be quite as long ranged as the Valdor, but hopefully it is more long range than the 12 inches that you get with the blaster on the Sabres.
Sabre, yeah.
Yeah, because the Sabres at the moment are pretty good for kind of that anti-Titan hunting. But you've got to get damn close to actually hurt it. So I'm hoping that the Cerberus, gives you a nice big 2 wound, 2+ armor save. I don't know if you would put it with lance cannons or if you put it with point defense heavy bolters. I think maybe the heavy bolters at the moment. It all depends on where the range comes out on the neutron laser battery. Like if it is like really long, much longer than a las cannon, I go, well, put the point defense on it.
Bolters,
but if it's kind of like similar range to the las cannon, it probably makes sense to kind of double up on the tank destroying. But I would assume this would have like the whole neutron flux thing, right? Which, since they FAQ'd it, reduces it down to 1 weapon hit. That's massive on a Titan, and there's nothing really which currently fills that kind of role. We don't really have proper tank hunters as they are now. The Sabres are fine, but they are very squishy, very small, very short range. Maybe with the Cerberus we'll see something a bit more akin to a Valdor platform. I do like it. It does look very cool. It's on the Spartan chassis. So I think I'll definitely be picking up some Cerberus. I'll definitely be picking up some Whirlwinds and Scorpius. Not sure on the Vindicators so far. And I'm not sure about the Typhon either. So the Typhon is the heavy siege tank squadron. There's 4 of those per box as well. Yeah, I mean, it's another siege weapon, and I would assume that it is going to be significantly beefier than what you get on a Demolisher. Mm-hmm. So does that mean we're going to be getting longer range? Or does that mean we're going to be getting bigger AP, bunker buster, all of that kind of stuff?
Are they going to start bringing out the small blast marker?
Maybe they bring out a small blast marker. I don't know. There's not many things which utilize blast at the moment, right?
No. I mean, it would probably be a bit silly, but maybe not. They're Demolisher cannons, right? They are characterized at, quite large explosions and destroying buildings. Yeah. But again, it just brings me back to, are there not better heavy tanks to be using for all kind of situations that you'd find it in, aside from destroying buildings? Like, are they going to turn around and surprise us with a, Siege of Terror expansion, and here's some plastic walls that can be destroyed?
I'd love that, because I've got so many walls that I've been building up over the last couple of months.
It'd be so sick. And obviously, you can use the ingrained rules for fortified buildings and such. But just where does it sit in the ecosystem of Space Marine tanks?
It'll all come down to the range of this thing, because I would assume it will be similar to the Spartan, which is 8 inches movement or whatever it is. Spartans aren't cheap, so I would assume this would be kind of on par with a Spartan's price. And its range, for me, and to an extent the abilities that it has as well, will largely be a question of, do you take the Typhon heavy siege tank, or do you take the Kratos with the Melter? Because that's the other big bunker busting option that you have for Space Marines, but then it also has all the other weapons, the coaxial autocannon, the 2 sponson options, at the side, the 2 sponson options at the front. Like there's a lot more guns on that thing. And it still gives you a 2+ armor save, 2 wounds, so similar to a Spartan chassis. So what is the niche going to be for the Typhon heavy siege tank? That is what I don't have an answer for. I don't really know.
Yeah, I think, again, Typhons have the front prow shield, right? Like the Vindicators do?
No.
No, they don't. Yeah, see, part of me would say, well, are they...
Well, they kind of do, but it's recessed back, isn't it? It's not like a big dozer blade style shield.
Yeah, because it's just hard imagining its place. But we haven't seen the rules. We haven't seen any prospected formations. Even with them, I still don't exactly know what kind of U-turn they're going to pull to make it kind of have its own distinct spot. Maybe there is an argument in Legions to destroying buildings a lot more. We all know how hard it is to shift a unit of infantry from a building. If these have not dreadful ranges, it may just be easier to collapse a building on top of a unit of missile launcher Space Marines.
I mean, that's generally the way to go.
Exactly.
If you can do it.
You can't be expected to move a heavy tank up the board, until like the end of the game if you're getting in range of what is classically a short-ranged demolisher cannon. And again, you'd be then looking at other alternatives that you don't have to waste 4 turns just getting them in range, and actually can just fire from one end of the board to the other, or with limited movement.
I'm just looking at the other things, and sort of I was just looking at what the profile for the demolisher cannon, the other things that it might bring. So it has demolisher and ignores cover. I think ignores cover will be another big one. I think for both of these, I would assume that the Typhon will have that ignores cover rule in it as well. It's what else it brings, I guess. Will it be similar to like the siege storm sword siege cannon? Which is, I mean, that's the super heavy solar one. Big, nice 30-inch range, right? With a hefty AP. But I don't know, all of the marine stuff just generally has a smaller range. So I can't see it being quite that long. I'm going to guess 16 inches for the heavy siege tank range on that. I think I would be surprised if it would be as far as 24. 16 to 20 is probably where we will see the range of that come in.
Yeah,
and then the question is do we see bunker buster on it?
I mean, I think that's probably the easiest guess to make out of this, right? Is we're going to see bunker buster on these demolisher cannons for sure.
Certainly on that one. Yeah. And then we leave the best to last.
The objective pack.
No, the Mastadon. Come on.
I'm joking.
I thought you were seriously reading off, because we've gone off of the show notes. Gone out of sequence on the show notes. I thought you were but yeah, the Mastodon, which again, a unit which was really far down my list of expected units this early in the game. Iconic model, beautiful model, huge transport for Space Marines. It has, to quote, its own anti-air defences, a siege melter array for obliterating anything in its path, and a variety of other weapons, including optional heavy bolter or lance cannon sponsons. So it's like you say, there's a lot of like leaning into this siege element here. That siege melter array, I would be surprised if that's longer than 12 inches. I think it would probably be even shorter than that. It's probably going to be slow. Max, I would guess 8 inches. And the question comes down to, it's the first Marine super heavy. So how many wounds is it going to have? I assume it's going to have a 2-up armor save.
Oh, yeah.
How many wounds is it going to have? Because, like I said at the start, right, we've got so many transport options for Marines. What is the Mastodon's role, which the Spartan doesn't have? Because that can already deliver, 5 bases of Space Marines. I would assume the Mastodon will be... I mean, how many can a Mastodon hold? Maybe double
30K
that, right?
count. Yeah, it's going to be 20 Marines, even more, 40 Marines. 40 Marines for Mastodon,
40 to
right?
50 Marines. It must be.
So here's my initially my first thoughts when this was released was World Eaters are going to have a field day, right? Getting those World Eater infantry squads and just delivering at the front line. But that is a lot of infantry bases to be put into one tank that can blow up. One
tank that can be blown up, and that was the point I was about to make. Yeah, like if you kill it, are you going to be taking multiple of these? I don't know. It all depends on how hardy they are, really. I mean,
at least with rhinos, you have your eggs in multiple baskets.
Yes,
so to speak.
Yeah, but I like that this has mobile anti-air defenses. I don't know what the range of that anti-air defense will be, because the way that air generally works is everyone sits at their maximum distance, out of range of everything else, and then doesn't get any closer. If this thing doesn't have a 20-inch air defense, it's probably rarely going to be used. So, what does it add there? But that siege melter array looks super interesting. And like I say, the Vindicator, the Typhon, are they leading into something more specific for sieges and the like? Will we see some more terrain, to your point? Who knows? But yeah, I love the model. It's a great model. I'll definitely be getting them because they look cool as shit. But we didn't need it. There's so many more things that I would have put in front of this. Super heavy, I'll get as hard as a rock for the prospect of a super heavy tank. But this isn't the super heavy tank that I want for Marines. I want a falchion. I want the glaive.
You don't want a transport.
I don't want another transport option.
I mean, like you said, it's cool as shit, but it's just an odd decision. I don't know.
Yeah. And it may be, we still will see the falchion and the glaive. Maybe this is just the first of the super heavies that will be announced as part of this book. Fingers crossed we do see more. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely leaning into transports are important, but to my point at the beginning, so's having the right blend of infantry to actually do the thing that you're wanting to do. Where's my, I forget what they call them in Heresy, my assault marines without jump packs? Where are they?
Despoilers.
Where are they? Give me something to put inside a Land Raider that can be used as an assault transport.
Isn't just a bolter marine or a marine with a plasma gun or a marine with a missile launcher.
Yeah. I would take the exact same stat line, just minus jump packs, so they're not as good as assaulting garrisons. Job done. Despoiler units done. But yeah, give me those. Give me breaches. Give me something more to put in the Mastodon to make the Mastodon worth taking. Because what the Mastodon is not worth taking for is to transport a unit of tactical marines around. You're going to be putting Terminators in these. Maybe this delivers 8 bases of Terminators or something.
But then
across 2 of them, maybe it would be 4 per thing. But
the question arises, how many points are you sinking into a Mastodon for a unit that can deep strike teleport?
Precisely that, right? The options are limited.
It does. Something that has maybe a side a side point here, but something has kind of cropped up for me, is that speaking of Terminators, if they are getting a points increase, are we seeing new rules to justify those points increases as well? So maybe that's...
You mean like an improved invulnerable save or something like that?
Just something to make Terminators not shit.
Yeah.
To make them feel like Terminators. Increased CAF, increased armor, or invuln.
I tell you what, a 5+ invulnerable, you wouldn't go far wrong with a 5+ invulnerable.
No.
Because nothing else is changing from what we've seen on the cards. But if they just did something like that, which means that normally you're on a 4+, but it's never going to get worse than a 5+, they might just feel a little bit more hardy than they currently do. But yeah. So that's the new units that have been announced so far. Like I say, hopefully we'll see some more in the future, which will make this kind of justified, and we'll hopefully see more formations of legend, possibly hinted. Like I say, this will probably be immediately out of date by the moment that this hits come Friday, but we shall see. The objective tokens, so that they are releasing new objective tokens and order tokens. So you get 92 in that pack. Although it's nice, I'll be quite frank, I would rather have the really cool FDM 3D printed multicolor ones that come straight out of a box pre-painted, or rather pre-colored, than order 92 tokens which you then need to hand paint to get the most out of. Although they're an obvious improvement to what you get in the box.
I think that's it, right? It's the improvement to what you get in the box. It's miles better than the cardboard, the thin cardboard that comes with the box.
92 is a good number as well. There's obviously a significant amount of tokens in there.
Yeah, that's like a very generous amount.
But yeah, the idea of painting 92 tokens, no thanks. Like, there's so many great multicolored 3D printed FDM tokens that you can get on Etsy and those sort of places, that if you really wanted plastic tokens, that for me would probably be the direction that I'd want to go in, because I spend my 15-20 quid and I can put them on the table straight away. I don't want to be wasting time painting objective tokens and not painting my new Cerberus or my new Mastodons. Like, I'd rather be doing that. I can see why some people might want those, but I really don't see I won't be rushing to the shops for those, for sure. So yeah, so what have we missed anything? I think that's about it, isn't it?
No, yeah, we've got our new book, we've got our new cards, our tank galore, our 6 flavors of tanks. And our objective tokens, and our lack of infantry diversity.
We've had our moan about infantry.
Yeah,
we've had our moan about buying new books. I think we've got everything covered.
Excellent. At the moment, all I'm thinking about is second edition 40k. So you've really thrown me off with that comment earlier.
Which tanks.
Oh
yeah, I can get there.
So am I going to be painting my base as Goblin Green, or are we doing a more modern approach here?
There's definitely some guys in the chat which, I'm using my 4th edition Flesh Terrors, which I hadn't gone through the rebasing of, which is a good foresight for me. They're still the same size. But it does mean I can't use things like Bar Predators because they didn't exist at the time. But there's a lot of guys like going on eBay. I went and bought, it's up there, but the old Dark Millennium expansion off of eBay, which I used to have as a kid and foolishly kind of just ruined over the years and ended up binning, I think. That was my first purchase run out. Get old Dark Millennium. So I've got all the cards for each of the units and the psychic powers and all that kind of stuff, which, proper nostalgia trip looking through that box, I must admit. But yeah, my Flesh Terrors will be going backwards in time beyond when they were made to the point of 2nd edition.
One of my friends gifted me their old, you could buy the massive Citadel grass flock rolls, right? I got gifted one of them for like brand new in original packaging from a friend who just had it left over for my birthday. And I was like, I'm going to make use out of this. So if we want a big Goblin Green board.
Amazing. Yeah. It's, I would love to say that that's where my hobby time has been, but I got them all out and I realized, shit, I've got all of this ready to go. I found like the OG Mephiston and the OG Captain Tycho.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to strip those bad boys down and repaint them again at some point. But no, I've been focusing more or less entirely on Legions Imperialis the last couple of days. I've been going through some of I looked at my Mechanicum that I've started and I was like, right, Mechanicum, no. I have so much which is unpainted for my Imperial Fist that I went back and I actually finished tons of stuff for my Imperial Fist. So
they're your main army.
Yeah. Well, the Formation of Legend, the Iron Hands one was at like 50% finished and just barely good enough to put on the table before I've finished that entire Formation of Legend. I've gone back in, I painted up my 4 Spartans. I finished all of my Predators. I'm now working on 4 of my, I've got 4 unpainted Kratos. I'm working on those at the moment. And I've still got like 16 termites to paint at some point and 8 Land Raiders. So, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to make as good a dent in, because that stuff I've never really played with because it's unpainted. So I'm going to try and force myself to sort of play with different models than I'm kind of used to, try and get a bit more use out of the Spartans and things like that, and maybe start looking at the, some subterranean assault formation as well, just to sort of mix it up a little bit. And then I'll return back to my Mechanicum. I'm not in any rush for those guys. No. I even got off the shelves the 2 boxes of I forget what they're called now. The jet bikes and land speeders and all that sort of stuff. And I've decided they are going to be my Sky Hunter phalanx for, of course, White Scars.
Of course.
So yeah, so that's going to be my little White Scars contingent. Yeah, it should look
really going for a loyalist soup force of.
Oh yeah, I mean some things. I mean, I haven't. The only reason I'm kind of thinking about it is purely from the lines of what makes sense. Like, if I'm going to have loads of jet bikes, did the Imperial Fists have a ton of jet bikes? I'm not aware that they had a lot of jet bikes.
No.
Who did have a lot of jet bikes? The White Scars. So, I've always said from the start, right, this is my Siege of Terra Force. So I've got my token the Sniffy Boys for Space Wolves. Majority of those, maybe in the future at some point I might paint some Blood Angels or something, but beyond that I'll be sticking to my Siege of Terra guys from here on in. Hopefully having enough painted just in time to then have to paint a ton of new tanks from the stuff which is coming hopefully soon. When do you think that we're going to see this? I feel like August
imminent.
might. Yeah. I feel like August, beginning of September might be when we kind of see this.
It would have to be shit hot for it to come out any later, because you're getting into Christmas time, which is insanely weird to say. So yeah, I reckon it's either going to be very soon or a little while away, but there's going to be a lot more than what they revealed, which
it'll probably come hot off the heels of the Heresy release, right? They'll release all of that stuff for that in the next. I mean, that's already pre-ordered, right? So July will be Heresy, maybe August will be LI.
And that's the question, right? If Saturine is the new big thing, how long until we see all of the Saturine sculpts shrunk down into I'm pretty
size? I've been very open on the Noosphere about. I was convinced that they were going to be coming next, so maybe we will see an infantry box at some point which has Saturnine stuff in, breaches, different missile options, Mark II armor, Because you can do a lot with that on Mark II, right? It's so similar to Mark III as well. You wouldn't really need, you only really need B keys and non-B keys to make it work. So give us the Mark II sculpts. That will satisfy all the Iron Warriors players out there. And Imperial Fists, to be honest. And yeah, maybe that'll be one or two additional boxes that we'll see of infantry. For Space Marines, which will be very cool. What is your hope, I guess, for what we will see in the, I've got the name of the book now, Liber Strategia? Like, what is the thing that you're hoping for the most out of the next 6 months of Legions Imperialis? Do let us know in the comments below. We love reading them, and we do try to respond to as many as we possibly can. Can't respond to everybody, but it's really great seeing people's thoughts and ideas. And it does often, very often, kind of makes us scratch our heads and think about things differently, or helps kind of like push us down a direction which maybe we hadn't thought about, which, you know, evolves the show and our opinions and the things that you hear on here. Yeah, if you aren't already, please do leave a like and subscribe for the channel. We are pushing up to 3,000 fairly closely. I think we're about 150 away from 3,000. It would be amazing to hit that over the summer. So please do like and subscribe the channel. And if you do feel like you want to kind of help support us more directly, then you can obviously check out our Patreon or YouTube members. And there is also, on top of all of that, the Discord that we have, which is free for anybody to use. I think we've got 1,300 people active on that Discord. It's one of the largest for Adeptus Titanicus and Legions Imperialis. So do check that out as well. I think we're done for the day, Johnny. Yeah. We had planned on also having a look at support formations, but we have talked a lot longer, I think, than we kind of thought we would on this new impending release for Legions Imperialis. So we will look to do that next episode. It's not
assuming we don't get that like next week Warhammer community post with all of the extra shit that they're releasing with this. Yeah.
Well, this is going to become the new meme, isn't it? It's going to become the new. When are you doing Traitor Titan Legions?
Yeah. We'll talk about these support formations eventually, but they just keep throwing new releases.
I've made a promise. I made a promise to our patrons that we will do the support formations. If we don't do it as a main podcast, then we will give it to our patrons as part of a special New Sphere episode. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in, guys. Do drop that subscribe and find out when we release next and new videos in the future. And we will see you all again next time. So it just leaves us long enough to say, as always, tongue-in-cheek, to always remember to go big, go loud, and Johnny...
Tanks.
Tanks for the memories. Tanks.
Tanks.
Tanks. More tanks.
Tanks.